let's hit it and crit it. So, this episode of Why It's Awesome is going to be a little bit different. Because first of all, I'm going to talk about something a little bit different, which is a podcast. One of my favorite podcasts. I listen to quite a few, but this is absolutely one of my favorite. And also, it's actually not going to be mostly me talking about it. I'm going to talk a little bit about why I love this thing, but then it's actually going to go to an interview with the cast. Most of the cast. But I'll talk about that in a minute. So, Improvised Weapons is a real play D&D podcast with the current cast is the Dungeon Master and 5 players all playing their characters, just working their way through an adventure. And I love it. I've tried these sorts of things before, both in video and podcast form, and I've enjoyed some of them. Most of them I dropped off on. This one I think ultimately comes down to the cast. And full disclosure, at this point, having now interviewed them, I've met almost all of them, but one of them, John, he was a friend of mine even before this podcast started, and he actually used to podcast with me on one of my podcasting ventures that ended up we didn't have the time for it anymore. So and I also support them on Patreon. So there's your full disclosure notices. In any case, I really love the heck out of this, and I think a big part of why it's so good is that these aren't just people who play D&D. They are comedians, and more importantly, they're improvisers, because you can get comedians on something like this. You can get something like Harmon Quest, which is fun and I enjoy well enough, but that they'll get in there and they'll do jokes and do what have you. But what I think the benefit of having improvisers is they are used to taking sudden turns of events and doing something narratively with them. So it's not just about making a joke in the moment. It's about, okay, how can we maneuver this as a story? And I think as a result, this podcast has a much better flow to the story and to the characters than most other role-playing podcasts that I've listened to. And Sam is really good as a dungeon master. So I just love the heck out of this thing, and I think that's enough for me, and I'm going to give you the chance to meet this cast, most of this cast. So one of the players, Aaron, who plays Eowyn, the High Elf Wizard, he was not at the recording that I was able to sit in on and interview the cast for. Also, one of the cast members, Nicole, who plays Olash, the half-orc barbarian, she had to leave. So she bows out partway through this. And also, unfortunately, their recording equipment at a couple of points kind of wreaked havoc with my recording equipment, and I ended up with feedback. So there are a couple of times where I'll ask a question of the group as a whole, but you'll only get answers from 2 or 3 of them. And the reason why you're not getting answers from everybody is because I had unusable audio. And I hope that you'll stick around for the interview, and I also hope you guys will check this out because the characters are phenomenal. Cassian is the most amazing blowhard you will ever come across. Yarfik is so good-hearted but causes so many problems by that fact. The ever-growing list of alternate personas for Ildov, and then, Eowyn having 0 tact at any point, no sense of diplomacy, and then Olash is just amazing. Olash makes my heart sing. And I hope that you'll check it out and get a sense for why that is, or maybe you'll get a little bit of a sense of it from this interview. But let's meet the cast.
Welcome to Improvised Weapons. Last time on the show, the party continued investigating the befungled caves, this time going down the right-hand tunnel. In it, they discovered a line of large mushrooms. Using their recently acquired bag of tricks, they summoned a helper, Templeton the Rat, to to test for traps, and Templeton was quickly done in by the mushroom's hidden bullwhip-like tendrils. They avenged his death, and were ready to simply go around back through the left-hand tunnel until Eowyn spotted some gemstones embedded in the ceiling in the middle of the path. They dealt with the rest of the mushrooms so they could harvest the gems unmolested, and managed to get 4 of the 5 out of the ceiling. Moving on deeper into the ground, they heard noises that sounded like a settlement. They then came to a turn around which was a brighter light than they've seen so far. Peering around, Cassian saw, much to his surprise, a village. And that is where we pick up. Cassian, you've just peered around the corner into the largest cavern you've seen so far. You see rows of igloo-shaped clay huts lining a central thoroughfare, bioluminescent mushrooms everywhere, as well as some lit braziers at central locations. What grabs your attention, though, is the semicircular line of 10 spears being brandished towards the cavern mouth. Each is held by, for lack of a better word, a mushroom. And with your natural 20 stealth roll from last time, they don't seem to notice you right now, but that's unlikely to last very long if you keep your head out.
All right, so this is the cast of Improvised Weapons. Everybody say hi.
Hi.
So
welcome.
We'll just go.
Cassian says, "Welcome."
Of course he does. We'll go around the table. We'll just start with John because I actually have known him the longest, so it's a cheat. But we'll just do quick introductions of both yourself and the character that you're playing.
I'm John Van Lully, and I'm playing Yarfik Stormhammer, the dwarf cleric of the group. What's the worst that could happen? We get in a fight like we were going to in the first place, but this time we're not lying to them. We're just coming through and being ourselves, and then we can lie to them later.
I'm Fred Nauman, and I play Cassian von Demos, human bard. Okay, so let me pitch this to you guys. The 3 of us turn ourselves into mushrooms, and we come back leading Yarfik in chains like we've caught a prisoner, and we try and just walk right through the village.
You think that I couldn't take 3 mushroom men?
I am Sam Kernet, and I play everybody that's not one of these guys. I'm the dungeon master.
I'm Lindsay Haddad. I play the half-elf warlock Ilda of Kartrana.
Ooh.
That's a 2.
And I'm Nicole Sisk, and I play the half-orc Olash Mershucks. Which is fine, because Olash doesn't want to understand.
All right, now, what is everybody's background in tabletop gaming? Was this new for you starting this, or does everyone have experience with D&D prior to the show?
Okay, I'll start. I have been super into like fantasy and sci-fi for a long time, and I have wanted to play D&D basically forever, but aside from like a few sort of scattered like, you know, short-run games with friends here and there, I just never like knew enough other people that were into it or like were able to get a game together to actually play in a regular long-running game. So this has been a dream come true for me.
Yeah, I played in college for like a semester because I only knew one person, and he got like a game going and just invited me to go along. I was like, sure, that sounds like a thing I could participate in, and it was super fun. And then yeah, I think I remember meeting Fred, and we would like talk about wanting to play D&D, but just like never forming a group or having the time. So yeah, this has been a great way to get to play again.
I played as a kid with like my dad and my brother, but hadn't played in like 20 years, and then until Sam was like, hey, wanna be on a podcast with like all these people that you do comedy with anyway? I was like, okay, sure.
I played as a kid and kind of left it for a bit there. I actually went to a summer camp that had a D&D class to like learn how to play, which is ridiculous. Then didn't play for a while. Played in college with a long-running game for all 4 years, and then moved to Chicago, kind of lost it for a bit, played other tabletop stuff, but always wanted to come back to it. Was always trying to get a game going, but no one would do it. Moved back here and played with a group that I knew from college for a bit, and then was talking to Sam in the box office about like how much I missed playing regularly or having a regular thing, and he was like, I have this great idea to do a podcast. We both like Critical Role. This would be really cool to put together. And I'm like, sign me up. I will do anything you need. And so this has been really fun to kind of get back into it and learn 5th edition, which I never played before.
I'm going to assume the Dungeon Master was a complete newcomer to this, and
You'd be surprised. I didn't start playing D&D until I turned 29. I turned 34 a week from today, so I'm not looking for applause. But no, I didn't play for the first time until I turned 29. I had kind of run into some friends from college at another college friend's wedding. And we all happened to live in the same city, but like never hang out together. And one of my friends was like, "Oh man, you know, we used to play D&D all the time. I'd love to get a group going." And my wife and I were like, "We've never played D&D before. Let us try this thing you call Dungeons and Dragons." And he set up one session. We were playing 3-5, and we just fucking loved it. We had the best time. So we kept that campaign going for almost over a year, basically until we moved up to Vermont. And then I was just kind of going through withdrawal. I was watching all of the Ac Inc. games from Penny Arcade, and I got into Critical Role, and I was like, I hate watching this and not playing. It's no fun. So I was like, I know what I'll do. I'll make a podcast and trick my friends into doing it. So they feel obligation to actually show up. And hey, it worked.
What's everybody's proudest character accomplishment?
Stumped us there.
Silence.
I think saving Caritica.
Like saving her in the trial?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, so the for those who are unaware, the very first portion of the campaign involved rescuing a missing boy, and in doing so, the party came up against a group of kobolds, the leader of which they kind of took a shine to, and instead of killing her, they took her back to town and forced the local government to put her on trial, and then they were her defense attorneys. And they got her off on community service because of an impassioned speech.
Wanted her to live, and
You did
unless as soon as we left they killed her, but I really hope not.
No.
If they do, we're going to raise that thing to the ground.
Yeah, Stone's Throw will be turned to ash if that is the case. But yeah, Olash made a very impassioned speech, and that was it. Caritica got off on customer service.
no, that's like the worst punishment you can get.
Yeah, no, that's worse than death. No, community service.
Please go back and listen.
Was
Oh my
impressive.
God.
Yeah, that was such a weird episode.
That wasn't what you had planned for?
No, I did not intend to have to design a system for courtroom drama in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. I'm not mad that I had to do that.
Copyright Sam Curry.
Ildov's is probably,
Carol.
yeah, Carol. Yeah. Like 100% Carol.
The seductress in mom jeans.
Yeah, the seductress in mom jeans.
She likes it rough.
She likes it rough, and she managed to get the rod. That's where I got the Rod of the Pact Keeper, which has been very useful.
For Cassian, let me see. It's probably... I was really happy with how the whole like heist episode went, where we had to break, into Gulric's house and do all of that stuff. Like, I just felt like that was like it was like one of the only like instances ever of like our plan going like exactly according to plan, pretty much. At least as far up as we had planned it.
Except for Olash getting 2 nat 1s while trying to climb the
Oh yeah, that's true.
Except for Ildov having to slit a guy's throat.
That's true.
Well, Nicole, you might have already answered the follow-up question. We'll still
Don't
get to
worry
you.
about
But the follow-up question is, what were your most epic character fails? And I think the 2 nat 1, the trying to scale a wall was probably it.
God.
But the rest of you can think about that while John answers the proudest accomplishment.
Proudest accomplishment for him has been, for Yarfik, has been that it's kind of an overwashing. He's spared more lives than he's killed, so he's been able to influence the party a lot not to murder everyone, and in that way kind of like please his goddess. So he got to meet his goddess, which was amazing for him. Like, no one gets to do that, which is ridiculous. So he's very proud of that, but he's proud that he's standing up for that, and so there's not one instance. I mean, Caritica is the first one that comes to mind. Like, we're not going to kill her, and there was a whole argument about why aren't we killing this kobold? Because we can't.
Yeah, your enemies are net alive.
Exactly. I'm coming out in the black. It's nice.
It's actually safer to be our enemy than just like a random bystander.
Sad Sad but true.
Yeah.
So biggest fails.
For me, going crazy
Oh,
and like
right, yeah.
hallucinating and setting the room on fire,
Yeah, that was an interesting.
which was also
moment.
fun to do. But it was like, oh my god, like everything was just going wrong at that point because he was trying to protect everybody.
We said mine.
Yeah, I know the double fails in trying to climb a wall. That's-
I don't know if this counts as an epic fail, but it was like a failure. Like I was attempting to do something that I thought would be really epic and totally failed at that, which was when I wanted to swing on that rope in the burning warehouse fight, and I just fell off it. I wanted to do some real swashbuckler stuff, and I just flopped.
The dice were not happy with you that day.
Oh yes, I remember that. That's when the rope turned out to not be secured to anything.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you just
it just
fell
wasn't-
straight down.
Yeah. Brett was back. He landed prone.
I don't remember any like epic failures as far as like rolls, like rolling like a nat 1 or whatever. I know I have, but I don't remember. Like nothing is jumping to mind. But I do feel like Ildov's like just like overall biggest failure is perhaps, I don't, maybe not like just like putting the party in danger because she made a pact with
Because she's not street legal.
because she's not street legal.
So basically, her mere presence is a fail.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
We don't believe that. We love you.
Well, I mean, but I don't know. It seems like maybe some things are happening to the party that like
Wouldn't have happened
wouldn't
otherwise.
have happened if she hadn't joined.
Right.
How many of you already have a backup character made in case you die?
I have 2 actually.
He's got 2.
Fred has 2. Aaron has 1, for sure. That may or may not appear regardless. Because I love the concept of it. Yeah, I can't speak for anyone else.
I made that character for the like improv show that we did.
NSYNC.
NSYNC, yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember NSYNC.
What is she? Is she like a
She was
half- like
a halfling bard.
A halfling bard, yeah.
We had
Yeah.
a party of halflings and like a Goliath.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a backup.
I don't know.
Well, I can't kill Olash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the listeners would all rebel.
Yeah. No, I would be burned at the stake if I did that. So there will always be some Deus Ex Machina that gets Olash back to life.
We'd end up having to do some kind of crazy, like, Crisis on Infinite Earths reboot and, like, create a whole new timeline where
Yes.
Olash
Yeah.
was alive.
So Sam, you might have already answered the first part of this sort of 2-parter, but I'm going to try it anyway. What was the biggest divergence from your original plan that the party took?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Let me count the ways.
So many. I mean, definitely sparing Kariktika was the first big one. That was definitely weird. Sparing Gulrick, that was
yeah.
real
yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, it made a lot of fun stuff happen.
Epic fail is letting
That's my
Goldberg
epic
out.
fail.
Because it was one of those things where, like, the
Yeah.
moment that they were like, you know, they decided to keep him alive and bring them with him, I was like, Kathak has to come with them. There's somehow I'm going to make this happen because they have to have consequences for their actions. And this is too weird and fucked up. So that was definitely a big one. Even in the with Scotch with the Fight Club, I had anticipated, because of introducing Terry and his racism towards Olash, that Olash would be the one who would get in the fight, and that she would be the one who gets conscripted by Pallid to go to the Fight Club. But that is not what happened.
We had the best fake fight ever.
Yeah, they continue to surprise me at every turn, which is probably for the better, because when we started this, I was writing like a lot of notes. And I still write a lot of notes, but I've definitely pared them down now, because there are swaths of things that just we never got to, and I'm going to save them for other stuff, and maybe they'll rear their heads somewhere down the line. But I was just like, I was doing way more work than I needed to. So
Now it's just like a scribble that says like cave, mushroom people, fights, question mark.
Well, it's more like now I'm at a point where I will write flowery language if I have a specific thing that I'm describing. Like the very end of this most recent episode, for the description of the final cavern that you guys walk into, like that, I read word for word what I had written for it because I had a very specific image that I wanted to convey for it. But for like, you know, going into a conversation, I'll just have things like, if they ask about this, it'll say something like that. If they ask about this, something like that. Just like bullet points.
Logic, yeah.
And then the rest of it is like, I'm just going to improvise this because that's kind of what we do anyway.
Just like with the corpse you left on the side of the road that you didn't think I was going to animate and talk to.
Yep, definitely didn't see that coming. Had to come up with a whole story for that guy.
What's the most effort you've had to put into getting them back onto the main quest line?
Did you see today's episode?
Honestly, today wasn't really that divergent. The most effort to get them back into the story of things. They actually end up doing a lot of course correction on their own. Because there definitely comes a point where at least one of them will be like, "Fuck, I just do this." Nicole does that a lot. Aaron does that a lot when he's here. Of like, we've been talking too long. Someone just needs to do something, so let's do it. So they end up doing that a lot on their own. I can't think of any particular instance, but I would definitely be willing to be like, you know, remember, things are happening while you guys are chatting about whatever's going on.
Right.
So, you know, like, but I can't think of a specific instance in when it's happened in the show.
In Bostovere, at some point, we were like walking around shopping for things or something else, like doing something very small, and you were like, guys, there's a library and like all this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there definitely was like the walking around in Bostovere and like having the cultists appear around every corner to try and get you guys to like do something.
You tried so hard to get us to chase those cultists into the sewer.
Yeah, and you know what? It didn't
would
work.
not do it.
So
We're leaving town. It's happening. Town's gonna burn.
just realized I'm dropping F-bombs left and right. And you know what? If you listen to the podcast, it shouldn't be a problem for you.
YouTube, maybe.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna bleep you, so
That's fine.
Can you use tambourine sounds?
Yes.
Oh, then we should all take a moment and talk about our favorite curse words.
God. Everybody's favorite NPC and why.
Favorite NPC.
Oh, wow.
I want to know what you guys think.
Oh. Will you make the dungeon master happy?
I mean,
None of your alternate personalities are
no,
NPCs.
I know.
No, that's the next question.
Yeah.
I was
figured.
gonna say Gulrick because Ildub was like kind of in love with him.
Was?
Well, she hasn't seen him in the past 24 hours, so,
That's
you
true.
know.
That's a very good point.
Right.
And the last time she saw him, he was drooling a lot.
He was like drooling. It's like not a good look. So she'll find someone else.
I love, oh crap, what was his name? The gnome cleric.
Cheshire.
Cheshire.
Oh,
Yes,
Cheshire.
Cheshire. I couldn't remember it. I love Cheshire as a concept because of just how he was played. And like he's very much like chaotic, but also we intimidated a little bit crap out of him.
Yeah.
But like actually, I think that everyone's favorite is Blackwing.
Yes, now Blackwing is amazing.
I don't know. I'm also a big fan of the interchangeable idiot bartenders.
The interchangeable what?
What you want?
The idiot bartenders.
What you want?
Yeah.
I keep waiting for one of the players to go like, "Do you have a brother who does the same work?"
I have asked this.
But I think if I had to really choose a favorite, my favorite is Poshed. Because she's a f***ing badass. Like, she's just so cool. And like if any of the characters that I've designed as NPCs, like I've made full character sheets for all of them, and I've played Kathak in another game, and he's super fun. But Poshed is the one that I'm like, man, if I could do it all over again, like I would like start her at level 1, and I want to play her all the way to level 20 because she's just like her backstory is really cool. I don't want to go into it too much because you guys still may run into her again.
Oh, she's gonna kick my ass at some point.
Yeah.
But like her whole thing with her pseudo dragon and just like the storm sorcerer subclass is really cool. So yeah, I think Poshed is my favorite baby.
Yes.
I had fun.
Yeah, Posh is awesome.
Yeah.
That was so much fun.
So, now, relatedly, your favorite Ildov alter ego. how many are you up to now? First of all,
Where's the Matrix?
Doug,
So I have-
Carol,
I have a list.
Alanis,
1, 2,
Gruff,
3, 4, 5, 6.
Chelsea Rage.
Chelsea Rage.
6,
Chelsea
I
Rage.
think. Yeah, I have a
Who's the
list here.
sixth?
Doug, Chelsea Rage,
Valera.
Gruff, Carol, Alanis,
Oh, yes,
Valera.
Valera.
Valera is...
Man, that's a tough question. I think I love Alanis, but I gotta go Doug.
Yeah.
Doug's the original. I mean,
Doug is
Valera
the
is the original, but
right.
Doug is the original.
Doug's
Valera is basically just Ildov in like
A different set of
street,
clothing.
like a fake street legal. Ildov.
Yeah, exactly.
no neon, no.
Yeah, I don't know. Doug is, yeah.
I mean, Doug's the one we
I
spent
think
the
it's
most
Doug.
time with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Doug's just had the
And that
most.
definitely helps.
Yeah.
And Doug came up with
He
the
is right.
catchphrase of the podcast. Where do you sleep?
Yeah.
Where you sleep, that is true.
Where do
That
you
is true.
Sleep.
That was actually still
Okay,
might
so
be my
this one's for the
favorite
party.
moment of this entire show.
what encounters did you honestly think that you might not all make it out of alive?
The Goldberg Fight. Honestly, I didn't believe we'd make it through that with what they were doing to us and that stupid mirror. Like, we were like, oh, nothing's working! And now we're all completely screwed.
There was...
Oh
so
yeah,
the woods?
The
Yeah,
Displacer
maybe-
Beast fight?
Yeah, the second
yeah.
Displacer
The
Beast fight
Displacer
was
Beast
really
fight.
tough.
The one
The
with
fight with the Displacer Beasts.
where you had to be combat rolling and...
Yeah, and then there were just a couple of times where I think maybe both Olash and I were like knocked down to the, like we were both prone at certain points.
I think one of you actually...
Olash, well, you both went unconscious at
Yeah,
points too.
yeah.
You both had to. Yarfik revived Olash, I think, twice, and Cassian had to pour a potion into Ildov's mouth when she went down.
Yeah. That was also the hardest. I walked into that halfway because I missed the first part of
Yeah.
the episode. I was like,
Right.
crap, where are we?
Yeah, that was one that I designed to be difficult.
Okay, so now for Sam, relatedly, what did you think was going to be very easy that ended up giving the party a lot of trouble?
Well, I feel like there are a lot of them.
See, thanks.
I mean, dealing with the whole argument over Gulrick once they had like captured him, as far as what to do with him, is one of those things where like if I had put myself in the shoes of any player, I would have been like, let's just kill him, because like what are we faffing about with this for? Other things, I don't know. I should have been better prepared.
Okay, well let me flip it on you then. What was something that you designed to give them trouble that they just breezed right past?
Oh, the getting out of the warehouse that was on fire. I expected them to have a much harder time with that. I had so many ideas for like, okay, well, if they do this, then this is how it's going to work, and if they do this, then this is how it's going to work. And they kind of were just like, oh, let's just leave. And they just went out through the sewer grate, which was also one of the options, but I expected them to have a much harder time figuring that out, for sure. And I mean, there certainly have been things that I don't take into account how I've given them stuff that will make it a lot easier. Like giving them the decanter of endless water is something that I don't think to plan for, that they have it. Like now they're like, when they travel, they never have to worry about bringing water with them. They're never going to die of thirst in the middle of a desert as long as they have that thing. With Olash being able to speak with animals, like they're never going to be in a situation, like there's always the option for them, you know, if they get attacked by beasts while they're out, to like stop and try and talk to them. And then I have to figure out what, you know, Joe Tiger sounds like.
Or the Griffin.
Or the Griffin, yeah. Well, that one I kind of expected would happen. But yeah, it's definitely one of those things where like you forget as they accrue more and more toys and abilities that you have to think even further outside of the box to make sure that something is challenging. But at the same time, as they get more toys and abilities, they forget that they have them.
There's that. Well, I mean, when you mentioned the Griffin, and I loved finding out on the reaction cast that you had scaled that giant fight for the whole party, and it was taken down by only 2 of them.
Yeah, no one woke me up.
That's right.
Yes. Well, yeah, that's something. Like giving Olash the Ring of Jumping has completely changed combat.
Yeah.
Because now she can launch herself like a half-orc missile.
Which is so cool.
Yes, it's great. I love it.
Okay, so which party member is most likely to get everybody killed, and why is it Yarfik?
I think you've answered your own question.
Yeah, it's definitely Yarfik, and it's because he's Yarfik.
Yeah.
So that's the only joke question I have, but I had to put that one in
It
there.
makes complete sense.
All right.
Sorry, I just wanted to say, like, we joke about that a lot, and we give Yarfik a lot of crap for, like, having no chill and, like, being impossible at diplomacy. But I actually really like what it does for, like, the story overall, that we do have, like, at least one party member who's, like, not always down to sort of take the easy way out, and like, who like, actually, you know, wants us to like, try and be, like, the capital G good guys a lot. I don't know, I just like that it throws an interesting wrinkle into a lot of situations that I appreciate.
Yeah, I think it's a good balance for the party. I'm always a fan when not everyone in the party thinks exactly the same way, because I think that happens far too often. Is people just sort of go by party rule and they talk about everything and then they just do one decision, and it's like, that's not how people are. People are different and they have different opinions and they think differently about things, and they may go along with something that they don't want to do because everyone else is doing it, but they're still going to have something to say about it. And I think it's important to carry that dynamic over because it makes it that much more realistic.
Well, I also, every game I played beforehand, it was party rule. It was that type of thing. You always went along with it. I kind of, not to be a dick, but I wanted to, like, play a guy, like, really play his viewpoint versus, like, okay, what's good for the party. And this has been fun because I always feel bad when I do it, but it's always good for us as well because we get a lot of fun stuff out of it, which I seem to think is fun.
For the party, if your character were to die, how would you want them to go?
Well, Cassian wants to go out in a blaze of glory.
I mean, clearly.
Yarfik would want to, or I would want Yarfik to be, like, holding the line in, like, a cavern, like, the last line of defense, everyone's running out behind him. Like, that's the way he wants to go out, basically.
I picture Olash wanting to die while ripping off the arms of a god.
Yes.
But, like, with her bare hands.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And then flipping him off with his own hands.
Yeah.
Imagine Eowyn would just want to be crushed by books.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, Eowyn wants to be crushed under a library.
Yeah.
Her own library.
Yeah.
And I
think... Oh.
I don't know. I
feel like Ildov wants to die in a lover's arms.
Yeah.
Yeah, either a lover's arms or
surrounded by lovers.
Yes.
So many multiple arms all the way over that table.
Yeah.
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 So does Cassian does as well.
Yeah.
I think Cassian would definitely want to go out in, like, a blaze of glory, doing some, like, awesome heroic deed that, like, lets everybody else, like, you know, achieve something or, like, save the mission. But I think I would if he had to go, what I would like for it to be is, like, somehow the consequence of him, like, finally being honest. Like, he finally decides to, like, not tell a lie in a situation, and that's what gets him killed.
I was gonna say, I think that, like, me as the player, I want Ilda, if she has to go, to like sacrifice herself for the good of the party, you know, like, for the, like, because she is,
jump on the grenade.
Yeah, if they're like, yeah, or like if it's a situation that, like, she's kind of causing, you know, because she's a warlock, or like it's her, you know, Shyok or whatever just coming out, or someone trying to attack her because of that, because of her pact.
I would love, as the player, I want Yarfik to have his death mean something to someone in the party. So whether it turns them into something else so that they become a better person, or whether it's, like, you know, just basically showing the better natures of everyone else, he wants to be that example.
Or they all just sigh in relief.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say, what if the reaction is just like elation?
He's happy with that.
Yarfik dies, they all stand around, and then his corpse farts, and Eowyn goes, Yarfik!
So, last question, this one is for Sam. So, I'm going to call this the Breaking Bad versus Supernatural question. So, do you have an end game, or are you just going to ride this out for as long as it possibly can go?
Both.
Okay.
So this particular arc of dealing with Elder Zone has an end game, and I have an arc in mind for after that. But I would also be more than happy to do this forever. I mean, obviously within the confines of like 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, you kind of top out at level 20, and I think the game kind of loses something a little bit when progression is no longer a factor. So I would probably want to like get them to that point and then do like one more cool, like, we have all the cool shit now, let's go do some cool stuff thing, and then maybe retire it and either move on to different characters or something else entirely. But I have endgame in mind, but there's also no clear path to it, in that we can do as many things between now and then as we want to. I will adjust whatever I need to adjust. I have a lot of, when I started planning this podcast, I came up with a lot of like vignettes of things that I want to do. And I'm still at the point where I'm like picking and choosing, like, oh, I can slot this in here and slot this in here. And it still sort of works getting them from point A to point B. And I can keep doing that forever. I come up with stuff a lot. Way too often, in fact. I have far more content in mind than I could ever fit into one single campaign, which is probably for the best, because I plan on playing more than one in my life.
Yeah.
Maybe at some point we can also switch it up too, and so you can play the game, and then...
What? What? I'm allowed to play games?
You can be.
Me no do all work all time?
I just want to thank you guys again for letting me be here and for making an awesome podcast that I love the heck out of. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for the amazing gifts that you got. These are incredible.
Yeah.
And thank you for just being awesome in general. I mean, you've been one of our biggest supporters for a long time and kind of putting stuff out there. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously you're all out there in YouTube land watching this video already, but you should watch some more.
Go back. The back catalog is amazing.
Well, thanks, guys, and until next time.
Bye.
All right, folks, that was it. I have a number of podcasts that I really love, and unfortunately, most of them aren't recorded close enough to me for me to be able to do this kind of thing with them. But if I ever get the chance to interview like the folks over at Relatively Geeky, or if I ever find myself in the UK again, I'm going to track down the Leylands from Hey Kids Comics. And if I can get my finances in order, I really want to try and get to HeroesCon next year, where a whole bunch of podcasting friends are going to be. So who knows? But for right now, this is probably for the foreseeable future the only interviewee thing that you're going to get from me. But God, I love this podcast. It's so fun and it's so funny, and like any D&D campaign, the first episode or two, give it a couple to get into it as they get their footing and Sam gets his footing with this group, but it's one of my favorite things. So hope you've enjoyed this. What are some of your favorite podcasts? Whatever they are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. There's a whole bunch of buttons and also links and things for you to check out. You know how all that works, so give that a look. Give the show a listen, and remember, folks, you're the council. I just run the meetings, and until next time, this council is adjourned.